Alrighty, it says we're live. I'm just going to double check real quick that everything is good and going. How has your week been thus far? The weather's nice, I hear.
The weather is beautiful in New York. Very blessed to have this weather. Typically is rainy and maybe a little cold and foggy, so it's nice to have some
In the
sunshine.
spring?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
April, May showers, but we did have a little bit of rain. But now it's just it's a gorgeous day. Gorgeous, gorgeous day.
Amazing. Well,
I'm
get
so
outside
excited.
then.
Exactly.
Yeah, but get
Um,
outside right after this. Alrighty. Well, so today, thank you for anyone who is joining us. Just letting people hop on, but Lindsay is here, and today we're going to chat about um, the things that people are nobody talking about that may be causing inflammation and the puffiness that we try to get rid of, right? I know. So I just traveled from Florida to San Diego, and I always get, I know it's from the travel, but I always feel like I'm so bloated once I get off the plane. And, knowing that there are foods that we can eat and things that we can do to support our gut health and just our skin health and just feel better after any kind of inflammatory situation is great. So, Lindsay, welcome and take it away.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to be back because the first two lives that we did were so great. And sorry for the noise. It's just birds, but I'm going to close my window.
Oh, no,
The birds are chirping.
let them chirp. It's a beautiful day.
Um, but so the first live that we did was all about water, which I mean, even I was surprised how much we were able to talk about water. Weren't you, Denise?
Yeah. Uh, it is, I mean, like, why not, right? We're like 70% made up of 70% water. We should talk about it more. It deserves a spotlight.
Exactly. So if you go back and watch that one was really cool. And then last week, I gave you some tips on some collagen boosting foods. And we put those all up on our social at Small Hinges. And so you can go and check those out. So we talked about like citrus fruit versus actually eating tropical fruits. And then oysters, which was cool, tomatoes, berries, fish skin, garlic for sulfur, cashews for zinc and copper, and then gave you some recipes for that. So definitely go back, check those out. And one of the things that I wanted to chat about today, because obviously, beauty is not only skin deep. What's going on inside of us is projected onto our skin. It's kind of like the projector screen of our body. And we've been talking about gut health and making small changes to your diet and lifestyle because small hinges swing the big door of change. And oftentimes we get so caught up in making big changes, which put us on a path that we may not be emotionally or physically or educationally prepared to travel down. And we can transform our health from the inside out because our gut is really what is driving our skin and vice versa. So the things that we're putting on our skin, which get absorbed into our bloodstream within 30 seconds, are also can throw our gut microbiome out of balance and out of whack. So it's just kind of like this negative downward spiral, which can cause breakouts and skin sensitivity, redness, aging, dryness, and more with our skin. But nobody really talks about inflammation as the root cause of our skin problems.
Okay.
And if you address inflammation, um, especially the inflammation triggers that are specific to our skin, and we'll go into that today in this talk, then you should be able to not only have a better glow in your skin and have more youthfulness in your skin, but also potentially reverse some of the inflammatory conditions that can become chronic over time.
Okay. That's,
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
So the first one, I'll give you five, is gluten. And feel free to ask questions because there's a lot of information that's out there. And so what I've done in my studies through studying culinary medicine, becoming a wellness coach, and also working with hundreds of clients is I've really been able to extrapolate like what's real and what's not. And a lot of people think that like gluten is the devil for everything, but you don't necessarily know why, right? So why is gluten the devil, especially for your skin? And that's because it it creates an immune reaction that produces an antibody, which is IgA. And you can look up IgA, there's IgG, there's IgE. IgE is like a real allergy, so like anaphylaxis. IgG is like a food sensitivity. And an antibody that's released that's more of an immune antibody is IgA. Now, these antibodies, they deposit into your skin. So these are gluten actually specifically impacts your skin. It can cause irritation and eczema, redness, bumps, rosacea, and then obviously inflammation, which we know causes additional oxidation because we've talked about that the last couple of weeks. And that's a big contributor in premature aging. So when oxidation happens in the skin, the cells actually lose their ability to function normally. And this results in like deeper wrinkles and more fine lines and collagen breaking down. So gluten causes that reaction.
Okay.
You, you may.
It's interesting when, hearing it, and now it makes sense because when you do go to a doctor, oftentimes the first thing they'll recommend is, try cutting gluten. Same with, I've heard dairy as well. But I know, and I know when I was breastfeeding, they were like, try cutting, because my daughter had colic. They're like, try cutting gluten, try cutting dairy, try cutting, I forgot what the other one was. But as soon as I dropped gluten, she was fine. I was like, okay, there's something here.
And honestly, gluten and dairy both end with ose, right? So they're glucose, lactose. Anything that ends in ose is a sugar. It's converted into sugar in your body.
Right.
And we're going to get to sugars. That's going to be the last thing we talk about because it's really the most impactful on your skin. It's also the most impactful on your gut and inflammation. And it's also the most addictive. So,
right. It's also the most delicious.
but I think that making these big changes can lead you down the path to stress. And stress is actually number 2. So it's not always just food, but stress actually has one of the largest impacts, if not the largest, on how our skin ages. So have you ever heard someone, Denise, say she wears her heart on her face?
Oh
Like,
my
or
gosh.
not even on your sleeve, like you wear your stress on your face, or like she's really aged. Like everybody saw Barack Obama after 2
Yeah.
terms and he looked old.
Old.
Like
Right.
he went into office looking young, he came out of office looking very, very old.
Right.
Stress does that to us. So again, we're going to ask why. Well, obviously, stress releases stress hormones into your body like cortisol, and those hormones actually break down collagen and elastin in the skin, and they cause inflammation, which interferes with rejuvenation of the skin. So it's speeding up the aging process by causing more fine lines and wrinkles. It's also hair. So like a lot of people, when they're stressed, you'll see that they
Their
start to
hair.
lose their hair. So it's not just your skin, but it's also damaging your hair. Um, because
So you're saying that I have permission to take a vacation every month because I need to not stress out and not get old, right? Lindsay told me.
there's a lot of, yes, absolutely, 100%. Tell your husband, tell your children, sorry, mommy is going on a alone vacation by herself.
I can't.
um,
I can't stress out. Sorry.
and all of us have our ways of coping with stress. Some of us have the eating coping mechanism where we eat sugar and ice cream and other things that might set us down a negative loop, a negative downward spiral loop. Um, Things that you can do to help reduce your stress. obviously everybody knows about meditation and breath work. Like if I see one more ad for meditation or breath work on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I'm gonna, scream. But honestly, setting up your day first thing in the morning so that you're gonna have stressful circumstances come up, and typically they don't like send you a letter first and say, hey, you're gonna have a stressful day today, and so you should prepare yourself. So instead, I would recommend everybody 10 minutes every morning. Do something that sets you up for a less stressed day, whether it's like what I do. I meditate and I stretch and I listen to music. Like I listen to meditation, just like free streaming. You don't have to pay for it. You can just go on YouTube
Yeah.
and look up meditation.
Yeah.
Um,
Any music service that you have. I know Spotify has like a playlist for it. Amazon Music has a playlist for it. Like, and it just gets you so zen. Yeah.
Yep. And then I stretch. You can do yoga, but just stretching out your body, helping to open up all of the pathways, energetically. And then I put on like some reggaeton or some like power music, and I get myself amped up for the day.
I love that you mentioned that it can be, just 10 minutes, because I think sometimes when people think of this morning routine, right? Like, I need to journal, I need to meditate, I need to exercise, and it doesn't need to be extensive. It just needs to be something that kind of gets you grounded and situated for the day. Like, I like to take a 20-minute walk, and that's my morning thing. And I'll listen to my music or a podcast or something that just kind of uplifts me for the day and gets me ready, getting out there, getting the sunshine when it's sunny. Today it's not, but that just does it for me. And that's all it takes. Like, especially I have two little ones, and I know you have little ones. Like, it's not easy to set up these elaborate morning routines. So
Yeah,
I love that, it can be as quick as 10 minutes, just something that's going to get you in the right headspace for the day.
exactly. And I have a lot of clients that will like read in the morning instead of reading at night.
Yeah.
They'll read like Jesus Calling, or they'll journal for 5-10 minutes, or they'll basically set up their day so that they feel peace. Because if you wake up, this is what I used to do. I'm a single mom with 3 little kids. I'd wake up as late as possible, like set my alarm for like 2 minutes before I had to wake up my kids to get to school. And really that's a new thing, because my kids are up so early. They're usually waking me up like, Mom, we got to go to school, because I love my sleep and I'm a night owl. So I'd wake up now 10-15 minutes before I have to get anybody else up, before I have to deal with anybody else in the house. But I used to like have to walk the dog. Like, let's just run outside real quick, walk the dog, make breakfast, pack up backpacks, get the snack for the day, water bottles. And I'm like, well, do I have to shower? Do I have to wash my hair today? Like, is it a hair washing day? Is it not a hair washing day? And inevitably, like, I would be running out the door. Sometimes I'd have slippers on. Sometimes I'd have actual shoes on. Maybe I got to eat something myself. Maybe I didn't. But setting yourself up for 10 minutes of just alone time. If you have to wake up 10 minutes early, 15 minutes earlier than everybody else in your household, do that and set up your day for less stress. There's a million other things that you could do, but that one small thing sets a good baseline for the day. Because
Exactly.
you're inevitably going to have stress. You're going to hit traffic. Your heel's going to break. You're going to have a fight with somebody. Like, there's always going to be things and variables that come at you, right?
100%. And it's just, getting into the mindset that the day something's going to come at me today, and it's just how you're going to choose to look at it, because breaking a heel can be just ruin your entire day, or it can be like, okay, now I gotta, I'm going to go find slippers or whatever and go with it, right? I mean, it's definitely about setting that day up. And if your day starts crazy, the rest of your day is going to be crazy, even if it's not that crazy. Just your mindset is going to be already like everything is awful. So
Exactly. Yeah. And there's definitely like gurus and stuff that spend like hours in the morning preparing for the day. Like look at Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins spends a lot of time getting amped up because he's giving so much of his energy. So do what you can for yourself, because stress has the biggest impact. And we don't really talk about it in beauty.
No.
Right?
No, absolutely not.
Talk about it in beauty. Okay, so now one thing that we do kind of talk about in beauty is fried foods. But it's not necessarily for the reason that you would think, right? So a lot of people think like, oh, fried foods, oily, greasy, it's going to come out of your skin, right? But it doesn't really come out of your skin unless you're like touching your face, unless you're like drinking oil. It's not really come out of your skin. Okay. But oils, I mean, if you've heard any health coach or dietitian or nutritionist or anybody, we all know that fried foods are bad for us because they trigger inflammation, right? We've already talked about inflammation. Now, this is our third week talking about it, but why does it cause inflammation? So fried foods and oils like canola oil, corn oil, and other seed oils can affect your internal circulation, which not only causes acne breakouts and inflammation and that kind of stuff, but it can also lead to skin puffiness. So like you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, why do I look like I haven't slept in 12 weeks? That's because you might be eating too many oils, refined oils, like those canola oils and fried foods. Because it's affecting your circulation.
So what I know we talked about this last time, but for anyone who wasn't here, what are some of the better oils that you can use maybe to pan fry something instead of like, definitely deep frying is like shouldn't do, but like something you may want to pan fry salmon or like a chicken breast. What are the best kind of oils for that?
So if you're going high heat, I would stick with an avocado oil. Okay. And just for using in like salads or for regular cooking, olive oil. And just, you don't need a lot. Right. A lot of people lately have been using like veggie stock or chicken stock to cook their food in. So you don't get that burnt oil. There's also carcinogens that are released if you heat oil too high and it starts to burn. And obviously that leads to like all sorts of cancers and other stuff like that. So a little bit of oil goes a long way. Olive oil is a part of the Mediterranean diet. It's in the 5 Blue Zone diet. I know a lot of people that actually take like a tablespoon of olive oil each night before they go to bed. Obviously you want to look for high quality stuff, right? There was that whole olive oil scandal. I think we talked about this last time or 2 times ago, where olive oil producers were saying that it was first press, organic, and they were filling it with a whole bit like canola oil or corn oil and charging a fortune for it because it's not cheap. Right. So if it's not cheap, and like the history behind it, they have on their website exactly how they produce it, where it's from, is it organic, is it first press? You'd want to just use a little bit anyway. You're not going to want to
serve my $30 olive oil, please.
Yeah. Let me just dump this into a vat and fry some stuff with it. No, you don't want to do that for sure. No. And if you do wake up with that puffiness, in the morning, take a look at what you ate the day before. So one thing that I actually have been working on with Small Hinges is a way for people to start to track their progress against their small hinge changes. And so I have a platform that we just are launching now that allows for people to go on, because I can't work with everybody one-on-one as much as I'd love to. But you are ultimately responsible for your own health. Like I can't come into your living room every morning and be like, hey guys, it's time to,
not? Can I pay extra for that?
I mean, I can come in and like clean out your pantry and all that kind of stuff, or you could just do it yourself, and limit the amount of oils, fried foods, and gluten that you're eating, and start to set yourself up for a stress-less day.
What, real quick, back to gluten. What are some of the biggest and like maybe most popular things that you see in people's pantry that have gluten that you may not even think about maybe?
That's a great question, because obviously everybody knows that like bread and
Yeah.
pasta, gluten, right? It's in some ketchups,
Oh, okay.
salad dressing, soy sauce. Like, you have to ask for tamari if you go out for Chinese food or sushi, or if you're just using soy sauce in cooking. I actually really like the acidity of soy sauce, so I use coconut aminos instead, which
Okay.
are a non-soy. So like processed soy is bad for women anyway, because it can produce higher levels of estrogen, and therefore like estrogen-based cancers, um, and
No.
inability to gain weight. So yeah, check out coconut aminos. Just look for the ones without lots of sugar added.
What should I eat with my sushi then?
Coconut aminos are delicious, or tamari. Tamari is the gluten-free soy sauce.
Okay. All right. Does it taste very different or how does it
It
taste?
tastes exactly like soy sauce.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know why soy sauce would have gluten in it. It's a bean.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't have never even thought of it. Like,
There's gluten in skincare. Yep, not in My Derma Dream, but in other skincare.
right, right.
Um, Gluten is just a really stable additive
Okay.
that gets added to like a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Pretzels, even some potato chips like Pringles are gluten. They're not even potatoes.
Oh no, my daughter loves those.
I know, they're all fake. They're not even real. They're not like
Ugh,
real food. So
oh no.
so stay away from the processed stuff. Eat real food. I know it's hard with kids. Trust me. I know it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do your, like you mentioned before, everything in moderation, but out of chips, those are like her favorite chips. And it's interesting because you think, well, it's not fried, it's supposed to be like baked, so maybe they're better, but I guess not. Maybe we could, oh my gosh. Okay. I gotta like not buy Pringles, and when she asks, be like, I don't know, they don't make them anymore. Sorry.
Well, we're not just responsible for navigating our own roadmap into a healthier future, but we're also responsible for being like the navigation.
Right.
So you have to read your labels. And it's funny, my kids now they don't even call me. They used to call me all the time, or text me, or have like whoever they were with, hey mom, is it okay if I have this? Now they actually just read the labels themselves.
Good.
They're getting older, like 12, 10, and 8 years old. They'll read the labels on something and say, they make their own decision. Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? And most of the time, if they're out with friends who, who are not educated in this, I mean, it's very rare to have 12, 10, and 8-year-old
Right.
girls be educated on this. And yeah, so they decide, do I want to feel like crap later or do I not? And many times, even my middle daughter, who's super picky, she even said this morning, she's like, do we have any plant-based milk? Because I feel like dairy is making my allergies worse. And I was like, no, I just spent $8 on grass milk. You're going to drink it.
You'll be fine.
But it's really get yourself educated by just simply reading the label. Take that extra 30 seconds to say, can I pronounce these things that are in here? And do they have added oils? Because a lot of prepackaged food have a lot of oils in them.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
So we'll move on from oils, but you're not going to be happy with this next one because we did talk about this. But coffee.
Okay. Actually, I'm not mad about it because I'm not a big coffee person, to be
Good.
honest.
Okay. Well, you might not be, but everybody who's watching this,
Everybody else will be. Yeah.
they're going to be like, you know what, Lindsay, turn.
Off. I'm getting out of here.
Um, so coffee is very high acidity, And high acidity foods and beverages can actually interfere with your hormones also and impact the amount of oil that your skin produces. So you need a good amount of healthy oil that your body is naturally producing. So coffee drinks, especially with dairy products, can increase your risk of developing acne because you're dehydrating yourself. It's not just coffee, it's also soda and alcohol too that can cause more skin redness and inflammation. But caffeine actually causes your blood vessels to constrict, so to get tighter. Um, and as a result, the vessels like that are at the surface of your skin actually don't deliver as many antioxidants and nutrients to help produce collagen, like we talked about last time.
Mm.
So if you are constricting your blood vessels first thing in the morning, you're not allowing, like by drinking a cup of coffee, you're not allowing those antioxidants and nutrients to stimulate collagen production. And so basically the results of drinking too much coffee can cause your skin to wrinkle prematurely. And I know that we always used to say, like when we were kids, that coffee stunts your growth.
Yeah.
Well, it might actually do that because
Yeah.
it's stunting the antioxidants and the nutrients for getting to your muscles and your skin, your dermal and your subdermal layers.
Yeah.
So if you can, try other modes of waking yourself up in the morning.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I also, I don't like when the rare occasions that I do have coffee, I don't like it black. There has to be, like you mentioned, some dairy and some sweetener in it. So I feel like you're like triple killing it there with the dairy, with the sugar. And it's like, okay, what is even the point of this? Like, there's other things you can drink.
Yeah, and honestly, there are good coffees that are out there in terms of like no broken pieces, lower levels of acidity. The broken pieces are important because mold grows very, like coffee is one of the moldiest foods. And so you can end up with mold toxicity from the inside out, which really wreaks havoc on your body. It can trigger 500 different autoimmune conditions. It can cause massive brain fog. And actually, because mold crosses the blood-brain barrier, it can lead to early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, forgetfulness, but anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts from mold poisoning. So not all coffee is created equal, obviously. Like, the stuff that's cheaper and non-organic and not like hand-picked and mold-free, I would definitely stay away from. I do drink coffee every once in a while, especially on weekends. I love the flavor of coffee. I love the flavor of coffee.
Okay.
Um, and so when I do drink coffee, I grind it myself. I get only organic. I typically get it from Purity Coffee. It's a really good brand that I absolutely love. But yeah, I am very careful and cautious and do my research. And I didn't realize that coffee constricted your blood vessels in your skin, like in the surface of your skin.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like internal blood
Right.
vessels that caused a whole bunch of other issues for my clients who are looking to like lose weight and have more energy and sleep better and balance hormones and stuff. Like whenever you're constricting your blood vessels, it can also lead to all sorts of other heart issues and other nasty things. So,
Well, I'm hearing you say no more coffee. That's fine. I'm gonna justify it for myself, and now I can tell my husband I'm better than you because I don't drink coffee. No, that's
there
why
you
I'm younger than you, even
go.
though I'm older.
We can just ignore the fact that I also said sodas and alcohol.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well,
Caffeine in general.
shoot, yeah. Okay, well, so alcohol is one of those like social things, so it's okay. But soda, actually, you know what? I'm not that huge on sodas either. I like my bubbly waters. Like, is that kind of in the same category?
None unless they're sweetened.
Okay.
Sugar sweetened or sweetened beverages are just inflammatory. And it's actually a good segue into sugar because I feel like we're going to talk about this the most. So there was a doctor, Dr. Nish, who was asked, he's an expert on aging and sugar. And so I put a couple of little quotes in here from him to tell you guys about, because sugar is a really hot button topic. Sugar used to be advertised back in the 40s and 50s as a benefit. I mean, so were cigarettes and so was alcohol. Advertises this is good for you. But sugar was advertised as a way for you to boost your energy. And now over the course of the last 50, 60 years, we've found that it's actually really bad for you, right? But why? So Dr. Nish was asked about, does sugar age you? And he said, well, the short answer is yes, because sugar ages us in actually many ways, both internally and externally, including our skin. So he starts to break down the science with a simple analogy. So if you put a banana out on the counter and you unpeel it, what happens to that banana in 24 to 48 hours?
Yeah, it gets black and brown and rotten and yuck.
Exactly. So what's happening is the sugars in that banana are actually reacting with the proteins, causing cross-links and brown color, that browning reaction. Mm-hmm. This is the exact same reaction that happens in our bodies. So we're essentially like browning and aging from the inside out because of sugar.
Great. Thanks for that. I just ate like a candy bar yesterday and I'm like, oh my God. And I ate the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to take just a bite, but I'm like, no, I'm going to eat the whole thing. So now I'm like, oh dang, that candy bar.
Yesterday was yesterday and we're starting over today, right? Today's a new day, brand new day. Okay. And table sugar and processed and refined sugar is probably the worst, because it's not just glucose, it's glucose and fructose molecule put together. So the fructose in sugar accelerates the browning reaction by 7 times.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So our skin is composed, obviously we know this, collagen and elastin, which makes our skin like really supple, soft, young looking, right? Like you could bounce a quarter off your cheek. Sugar causes the cross-link of collagen, resulting in a stiffening and loss of elasticity in our skin. So it's basically like hardening our skin and also sagging our skin. So it kind of gets like stuck, saggy. Yeah. So the more sugar we have, the more our skin is going to suffer. And it's not just the appearance of wrinkles and the sagging in the neck and the chin, but it's also developing dark spots. So that browning is actually coming out of your skin, right?
Really? Okay. So that's contributing to like age spots and such. Okay.
Yes. Wow. Also, it will prevent some of your like scar tissue. So slower healing of like cuts and scars and scrapes. And then also increased acne. So sugar, whenever I see a young person, like I've had a couple of babysitters that have come to me and they're like just covered in acne, late teens, early 20s. And the first thing, they're like, oh, how is your skin? So, I'm twice their age, at least. I'm 41. They're like, how is your skin look so good and like acne free? And so like, I'm like, well, I don't eat sugar. It's like, okay, bye. No. It's really the one thing, and it's also the most addictive. So there was a study that was done. This is not Dr. Nish, but I'll get back to Dr. Nish in a second. But there was a study that was done with lab rats. I don't think they do any studies like this anymore. So it was done many, many years ago, decades ago, where rats were given sugar and heroin.
And they found sugar was more addictive.
And then they gave them both options. So they were given sugar and then they were just given heroin. And then they gave them both options and every single rat went right directly to the sugar. Wow. So sugar is more addictive than heroin, which is why it's so hard for us to put down the candy bar, to put down the Coca-Cola, the sugar sweetened beverages, to stop eating gluten and dairy because it is converting into sugar, to stop drinking those, lots of wine because a lot of my friends are like, oh, I don't eat sugar, but they'll drink a whole bottle of rosé.
Like, oh.
And if you think about the sugar content in a bottle of rosé, it's like 17 teaspoons of sugar. So, right. Same goes with beer. Same goes with, rum. If you are going to drink alcohol, stick to vodka, maybe a little bit of tequila, like agave only, 100% agave. Put some of those unsweetened seltzers in with them, and make sure you stay hydrated. Drink lots of water to help flush out the toxins that you're putting into your body. I do drink alcohol in moderation. I don't drink whole bottles of rosé, but I will have a rosé in the summer. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
it's not about completely taking everything out of your diet.
Right.
If you are drinking a half a bottle of rosé a night and wondering why your skin is aging and wondering why your muscles are feeling stiff and tight and wondering why you have anxiety and panic, or why you're getting acne, look at the things that you could potentially change, and how you could. I'm not telling you not to drink. Right. Just like I didn't tell you not to stop drinking coffee. Just look at the type of coffee that you're drinking and maybe pare it down a little bit, and don't add all the other stuff into it.
Well, they are making also, like, since this has become more mainstream, they're making sugar-free wines. So you can still enjoy, the taste, the glass, the alcohol, without as much sugar. So, and I actually had one because a friend of mine bought it, and it tastes a little different, but I mean, it's still good. It's still good, and it does a trick. I mean, you pair it with, I was gonna say you pair it with cheese, but you probably say don't. But you pair it with some good snacks. I'm not gonna mention which ones. And I mean, it's good. It does the trick. It's good.
Well, and when we talked about water, we talked about the importance of timing of drinking water, right? And so a lot of people who are trying to be healthier, they drink a lot of water while they're eating. And we said that that's a no-no, right? We don't want to flush out those good digestive enzymes. So instead, if you drink water first thing when you wake up, and then you have a meal, obviously you're not drinking alcohol for breakfast. Maybe you are. Maybe you're having a mimosa on a weekend. Right? Listen, I'm coming on your vacation with you. You sound like you know how to relax and party. But once you get to a meal where you might have a glass of wine or you might have something else, that's when you drink a lot of water beforehand, right? And then you kind of just sip whatever beverage, like just little teeny sips. Have 2 ounces of wine instead of 4 ounces of wine. Like instead of 4 fingers of wine in a glass, just have 2 ounces and sip it slowly while you're eating. And then have a nice big glass of water at like 15 minutes after you're done with dinner.
Yeah. And you'll balance out that, any of the harmful effects, because water is, as we've learned, miraculous, and it just does all these wonderful things for you. So it definitely helps flush out a lot of those toxins. Okay, good. Now I don't feel as bad.
So I am a nerd, and I love data and I love statistics. So this one quote from Dr. Nish was really interesting. So he says, aging is a part of growing older, but it's accelerated by sugar. Without getting too technical, at the end of each strand of our DNA is a little cap, and that's called a telomere, which protect. And I think actually Dr. Ross Carter was talking about telomeres. So this protects our DNA from damage. Now, every time our DNA is read and duplicated, those telomeres get shorter.
Right.
So our bodies normally replace those telomeres, but sugar quickens that shortening, thereby advancing the aging process. So another reason to just it's an actual genetic, and Dr. Ross went into, Dr. Carter went into a ton about telomeres and how to lengthen them and all that. So, but honestly, those are just the things, the 5 things that I feel like aren't talked about enough, like the why, the real why.
The why, exactly. You know, we've heard it. We know it's like mainstream. Don't eat so much sugars. You know, cut out gluten. But definitely hearing these back and you know these the backstory behind it makes you want to think twice about things. Like and like you mentioned, you know, read what you're eating, read what you're putting in your body, and you know, do I really need that soda? Can I have it? Can I? That's why I actually recently started, not recently, it's been a while now, that I, instead of sodas, I'm drinking my bubbly seltzers that I absolutely love now. And people are like, that has no sugar. How are you? I'm like, the bubbly is what I wanted, and it has a flavor.
Right.
And it satisfies me. It satisfies what I wanted. So you can make these small changes with your small hinge changes.
There you go.
And it's not an all or nothing thing. Yeah.
And the other thing with sugar is we typically crave that sweetness, right?
Yeah.
That's the craving that we're seeking. There are I really do hate most of sweeteners out there, but I do like monk fruit. Monk fruit,
Okay.
and I think we talked about this in the water chat too. Monk fruit is a great natural sweetener that's been used for probably thousands of years.
Okay.
So there's monk fruit droppers that you can put into water. And into coffee. It looks like sugar. You can get the sugar packets carried around with you. But if you're really having a hard time eliminating sugar sweetened beverages or sugar in general, try monk fruit as just a way to kind of trick your brain into thinking, oh, well, this is sweet. This is delicious. But it's not sugar and it's not terrible for you. It's not going to break down your gut microbiome and cause an inflammatory reaction or long-term inflammatory conditions, because long-term inflammation is what kills majority of us each year, right? That's anything from cancer to diabetes to heart disease, stroke, and autoimmune conditions. So all of those are chronic inflammatory conditions that start, with bad diet, lifestyle. It also can be triggered by stress and anxiety. So that's why it's important to make small little changes and to have the information that you need. You can go to smallhinges.health. There's tons of recipes on there too. And I do talk about like doing a food inflammation test is super helpful, because then you're not guessing.
And what's that entail? Tell me a little bit more about that, because that sounds absolutely fascinating. I'm like so interested in these things. What Dr. Carter was talking about, like the biomarker test and all that. So I'm gonna go get that done. So now tell me about this. So I can get this done too.
So this is I was talking about IgA versus IgE versus IgG. So in our bodies, when we eat something that causes an inflammatory response, our body will produce the antibody IgG, and we can look at multiple levels of reactivity, but it also releases a complement protein. So if that reaction is not cleared from our body, the complement protein goes to the site of the reaction. And so this test that I use in my practice looks at complement protein plus IgG across 176 different foods, additives, and colorings. Now, most doctors and nutritionists and dietitians will have you do like a food elimination diet. I don't actually know how to calculate how long it would take to remove 176 different foods, additives, and colorings from your diet, and then how you would even begin to start to put those back in to check in on the reaction. So instead, it's a finger prick test. You can order it anywhere in the country. I have the test on smallhinges.health. I actually walk you through like how to remove those foods, but it will tell you with precise accuracy which foods, including healthy foods. Like I actually had coffee on my list, which is one of the reasons why I removed it from my diet. I had pineapple. Bananas are the worst for me. They're the highest. They're like bright red, like Lindsay, never eat bananas. I had oregano on there. So it's not going to tell you like gluten, dairy,
Right.
all the time, even though those are good things to remove from your diet. But this will help you know specifically for you what to remove.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And it's, again, I always learn something new when I'm talking to you. Like, it's just a matter of knowing these things. Like you mentioned, you don't have to remove maybe all sugary fruits or whatever, but like for you, bananas was a thing. For some people, you know, I feel like potentially oranges may be a thing for me because the citrus gives me a little bit of a bloating when I eat it. So like it's specific to you. It's not just like cut all gluten, cut all dairy. No, it's cut what's not working for you.
Exactly.
Um, and that's incredible that we can do that. Like that's amazing to me.
I want to just show you. So I'm going to actually share my screen if that's cool. If
Yes,
you have a few
please
minutes.
do.
So this is my most recent food inflammation test.
Okay.
So you'll look at bananas right up at the top. Now,
Yeah.
I've accidentally
Oh
had
my.
a smoothie with a banana in it, and I was in so much pain. It was like someone was attacking me from the inside out with a knife.
Wow.
Now I did this test in November, so I do it every 6 months. So we're
Okay.
coming up on the 6 month marker now. So I'm going to redo my test. What you typically do is you remove anything with a level 4 reaction for 8 weeks out of your body. That helps to clear the reaction. So this is not a forever thing.
Okay.
Whenever I work with people, they're like, oh my gosh, how long I can't eat bananas ever again. I can't eat, I love cilantro. I could literally like drink cilantro juice. I love it so much. I know people hate it, but I love it.
I love it too.
It's really good at removing heavy metals out
Oh,
of your bloodstream. It's really good for you. But apparently for me, it's inflammatory. I took out all of the things in orange, like red dye number 3. I never eat anything with red dye number 3, but it was Halloween the month before. And so I'm thinking that I probably had like a Swedish fish or a fireball or something like that because it's Halloween. I'm not
right.
going to not eat candy. It's Halloween. Um, but black beans, squid, venison. I eat a ton of venison because my ex-husband's a hunter, and so he brings me venison. And it's a really great, it's grass-fed. I always say it's garden-fed, so it's
Yeah.
eating all of your hydrangeas.
Yeah.
Casein is dairy.
Milk, yeah.
So you take out these foods for 4 weeks.
Okay.
And this actually shows you like all of the different foods that they're testing.
Okay.
So even I just told you to swap out sugar for monk fruit. Some people have a sensitivity to monk fruit or
Okay.
stevia. And then the cool part about this test is it also tells you if you have leaky gut. So
Oh, okay.
candida is basically like food particles or yeast. This
Yes.
this is also sugar, right? So that's if that's present in your bloodstream, then it's somehow getting out of your gut. Candida also crosses the blood-brain barrier, so this can lead to higher levels of candida in your blood, can lead to early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, all that stuff.
Okay.
Zonulin is a digestive enzyme, and so obviously if you've got digestive enzymes in a finger prick in your blood, then you've got a leak somewhere. And
Okay.
occludin is that good gut microbiome. So our gut lining is actually thinner than a single piece of hair. I think I've told you guys
That's
that before.
crazy. Yeah.
And so so it's very susceptible to damage. And so our bodies are such beautiful things that around our digestive system, there's this mucus layer. It's kind of like that cement I was talking about in the Lincoln Tunnel.
Yeah.
um, Occludin is a loosening of that gut
Oh,
mucus layer. So like pieces of occludin. Now I had such bad leaky gut 5 years ago. I have been working so hard to heal my gut. This candida over here was positive for me for the last 3 years.
wow.
And I finally got it. This is the IgG month score. I finally got it in November to be negative, but there's still the pathway. Remember we were talking about IgA?
Yes.
It's that pathway to get to that dermal layer. So anyway, that when I retest for that, I'm very excited to see if that has gone away too, because I've been taking a bifidobacterium and all that stuff. But anyway, it's really valuable information to have, because who would ever guess that you can't have cilantro, oregano, bananas, black beans, summer squash, asparagus? Asparagus kills me. Kills.
I know, it's so good, especially in the summer. You grill it, it's so good.
It's so good. I mean, I've wrapped it in prosciutto before.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So good, but
Mhm.
not for me. I used to love asparagus soup. So anyway, I was able to reintegrate a lot of these foods back into my diet. I haven't eaten anything with red dye 3. Coffee does make me break out, which is crazy. Casein, dairy also does cause breakouts for me, like almost immediately after I eat it. I just can't do bananas and asparagus anymore. I can't do it. It's crazy.
That
And
is crazy.
black beans do bloat me a little bit, and so do green beans.
I love black beans.
I know.
My
Green beans,
husband's
kidney
Cuban,
beans.
so we have black beans like at every meal. Black beans and rice. Yeah, I need to do this. So let's say when somebody does take this, what do we get guidance, or what do we do with the results? Like, do we get guidance with you, or how does that work?
So the cool thing about doing this test through Small Hinges, and there's a link to sign up and pay for it. It will get delivered straight to your home. And then you'll get a 45-minute review once we get the results, because it takes a couple weeks to get back.
Okay.
Um, they're testing all organic materials, and it's in a lab outside of Boston. So depending on where you are, it is available in other countries, in European countries. I'm not quite sure where else, but there's 4 countries that it's available in.
Okay.
But yes, you'll also get a 7-day sample meal plan. So it's not just an automatic thing. We'll actually go through it. We'll sit down and go through it together. The test itself costs $385, and I
Okay.
think I charge $499. Typically, I charge $250 for my time. So you get it's a good value, because you're saving a lot of time by not doing those complicated and painful food elimination diets.
Right.
You're going directly to the source, and then you get to work with a culinary medicine practitioner who can tell you exactly what to eat. I can even help you like find some great products online, give you recipes that you can make at home, and really support you over the course of 6 months. And then I have that technology platform that I was telling you about in the beginning, where we'll actually set up reminders, so that within those 8 weeks of removing the red foods, it'll remind you not to eat those.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll be helpful. Like, we need one that, like, when I have the food in my mouth, be like, like a big X or something. Like, don't eat that.
We'll just get an AI robot to follow you around.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
And because I worked in AI and machine learning in technology and marketing for 20 years, finding the most efficacious data is really, really important to me, because I know that good data in, good output out. I scoured for 4 years looking for a test like this, and I finally found it. I even went to the lab and visited them to find the best of the best. So this is it's a good test. It's the only patented food inflammation test in the world. And so it's good data, and you're only doing it. You could do it once a year, do it twice a year, but I've had so many clients heal their skin issues from just removing these foods.
That's incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Great. One more thing I need to add to my tests to do.
I know.
Yeah. Well, that's I love talking to you. I always learn. Well, you and Dr. Ross, I always learn something new, and I always say, and I know you may be tired of hearing it, but I always say, like, just knowledge is the first step. You get to do your research, read the labels, like you say, on what you're eating, just being conscious of what you're putting inside your body. Even if you do choose, like you mentioned, you don't have to cut everything out. Like,
Yeah.
just eat you know, you're making the choice. And once you know, I feel like once you know, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, this got red dye number 40. I'm just not gonna eat it. You just not. I'm not just not gonna eat it. And knowing is that first step. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Lindsay. As
And
always.
and then our next one, I would love to chat about how to really set yourself up for success with your mindset, because without a solid mindset, none of these changes are easy. They might be
Oh
simple.
yeah.
They're probably simple to understand. Like, okay, got it. Sugar's bad for me. You know, okay, got it. Gluten, coffee, alcohol, you know, dairy, all things that not so great. But without a strong mindset and really, and I can walk you guys through that in the next one if you
Yes.
want to. And if
I
anybody has any questions, you can always email me, info@smallhinges.health. You can go to the website, smallhinges.health. And did anybody type anything into the chat before we head out?
um just where they're from, a little bit about their morning routines, you know, spending time with God, journaling, also taking a walk, yoga, where people are from. Another person recommending Dr. Courtney Hunt
Hmm,
on how to heal inflammation. Nice. Okay.
awesome.
Smallhinges.health. Let me add in.
Oh, in Scottsdale. Cool. To check her out. Oh, I've seen her before.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got the genetic protocol. Yeah, she's supposed to be really good. She has some supplements. We can also talk about supplements too in one of these, because there's different schools of thought about taking supplements. When Dr. Ross Carter was talking about methylation
Yes.
in his first live,
Mhm.
um, that is the type of supplementation that you might want to take. But other supplements are kind of just a waste of money. And
Okay.
I'm a big believer that if you take it, you don't make it. So um,
That's
that
true.
could be a whole
That
like
might be
four.
a good one because I feel like it's huge. You know, supplement is a huge business. um, but some of them may be helpful depending on what you need. Again, it's very individualized to each person, and kind of knowing, not just taking vitamin D because everybody's taking vitamin D or something like that. Like, know what your body needs more of, and finding the right kind of supplement. So I love that idea. Let's put that one in the books for sure. And mindset, I think I agree, is like 100%. You can't do anything if you don't have the right mindset for it. So I love that one too.
And
Um,
we also wanted to talk about simple diet changes you can make in a week that will take years off your face. So I think that would be really helpful too. We could maybe combine that with mindset.
yes.
Let's do that.
Definitely, because it's a win, like in a week. Like you can
Yeah.
get wins.
Let's
Amazing. So you guys are hearing all the awesome stuff that are coming up. Like, definitely sign up for them. I will put them in the group as soon as they become available and as soon as we nail down the dates. So thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions, I put in Lindsay's email and the website that you can visit, smallhinges.health. She's also in our group, so you can tag her and ask her any questions. Join our Facebook group. I go live in there every few days too, or every other week rather, about how to use your My Derma Dream products, and just chit chatting about health and skin. So love to see you guys in there. And thank you so much, Lindsay. As always, it's a pleasure chatting with you. Have a great week.
You too, and have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend for all of you in the United States. Enjoy
Yes.
the long weekend, and yeah, just continue to be a discoverer in your own life and your own health. You got this. It's
It's
all in
not
your
as
wheel.
hard. Right. It's not as hard as you think. Just with these few chats that we've had, I already find myself being more conscious about things. So
Awesome.
that's amazing.
Well, your
Okay.
skin is glowing, so hopefully that's a result.
I don't know. Well, today I was like slathering on the moisturizer because when you travel, you know, the dry air in the plane, I was like, it was starved. I drank like 3 cups of water this morning. Like, yeah, I needed it. So
Good.
glad that it's showing.
Yes, it is. You're glowing. Well,
All
thank
right.
you all. See you soon.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everyone.